What was this guy's mistake? He literally just said that both high and low castes are equal, but as punishment for saying that, his head was chopped off and hung in the middle of the road. Let's dive into this crazy story today. The story kicks off in an era where a person's value is decided by their blood and caste. Back then, King Sanjo was the ruler. High caste people ruled with total power, while the common folks, especially the low-caste people, were forced to live lives filled with oppression and violence. This cruelty had become so common that nobody dared to speak out openly. But in this darkness, there were some people dreaming of equality and justice. Those people gathered in secret. They wanted to create a society where there was no caste discrimination, but the royal court declared them traitors and called them a threat to the throne. Then what happened was they were brutally attacked. Their leaders were caught and publicly beheaded so that no one else would dare to do the same. In this heartless world, two boys grow up. The first is Cheon, who's the hero of this story. He's a slave living in search of freedom. The second is Jong-ryeo, who's his best friend and the son of a wealthy high caste official. Both grow up together from childhood, even though their worlds are completely different from each other. Our hero's parents were just ordinary people, but he always had a fire inside him to do something big. Actually, the hero was a normal kid, but his mother was sold as a slave to pay off a debt. At that time, our hero was still in his mother's womb. Because of this, he was also declared a slave. The hero is sent to be a slave for a boy named Jong-ryeo. That boy was the son of the Minister of Defense's family, and this family was considered the most powerful warrior family in Joseon. His mansion was filled with wealth. More than 100 slaves lived there. Male slaves were given heavy tasks like sweeping, kitchen work, and taking care of horses, while female slaves were put into various domestic services. The Minister of Defense wanted his son Jong-ryeo to become a general who never made a mistake. So whenever the young master made even a slight slip-up during swordsmanship training, instead of hitting him, the slave was beaten because his father wanted to make him a great military leader whose body shouldn't have any scars. Therefore, his punishment was extracted from the bodies of the slaves. The current slave passes out, so now our hero is made to stand in his place. Our hero didn't understand why he was being punished since he hadn't made any mistake. He tried to protest, but a slave's voice had no value. Then at night, it's discovered that the slave who passed out died because of being beaten so much. That night, the hero's heart filled with anger and pain. He couldn't even close his eyes. The young master brought food for him out of regret, but our hero made a big decision. He escaped from the mansion. But when he reached his home, what he saw there broke him even more. Actually, his father had been killed, which breaks him down even further. A short time later, the master's men arrived there, caught him, and took him back. They branded his hand with a mark as punishment for running away, which was a sign of him being a slave. Despite this, that rebellious-hearted boy didn't give up. He used to quietly watch his master's swordsmanship training. With his God-given talent, he would memorize all the moves. To avoid harsh punishment, he started teaching the master's son how to use a sword in secret at night. He threatens him that if he gets lashed even once because of him, he will hit him twice. One day, the master saw that he was teaching his son swordsmanship, but when he saw the boy's agility and skill, he didn't stop him because he also wanted his son to become a very powerful swordsman. Eventually, our hero was officially made Jong-ryeo's sword practice partner. As Jong-ryeo's swordsmanship improved, our hero also started getting a little bit of freedom. Many years passed like this. Both grew up together and a deep friendship formed between them. Jong-ryeo was an expert with the sword, yet he would often lose to his friend. Once, our hero said that Jong-ryeo's sword has no hunger for blood. You lack anger inside you. Jong-ryeo replied in a calm voice that, when I face my real enemy, then my sword will fill with anger on its own. When the time came for Jong-ryeo to take the military exam and become a general, the result wasn't what he expected. He kept failing over and over. This made his father very angry. Then our hero made a secret proposal. He said he would take the exam in his place and score the highest marks. But he had one condition. If he could do that, he should get freedom from being a slave. To save his pride and the family's honor, the deputy minister was forced to accept this condition. On the day of the exam, both tied a red cloth on their hands. This was a symbol of their friendship and a vow to give their lives for each other. Our hero kept his promise completely. He passed the exam with the highest marks. He received a special sword from the king with the name Jong-ryeo, the great warrior of war, written on it. Along with that, he got a valuable blue robe that is only given to the best warrior. Our hero felt proud when he wore that robe, but he handed over the sword, the robe, and all the honor to his friend, so that in return, he could get the paper freeing him from slavery. But just then, the deputy minister showed his true colors. He broke the promise and planned to kill our hero so that this secret would stay buried forever. Knowing this, Jong-ryeo got very angry at his father. He said that even a slave keeps his promise, so why don't you keep yours? But his father wasn't ready to listen to anything. Then Jong-ryeo went to meet our hero. Our hero was angry and asking asking for the freedom papers. But Jong-ryeo told him everything about how his father wants to kill him. Our hero just asked one thing: "Am I still your friend today?" Hearing this, Jong-ryeo felt great regret. He returned the king's sword to our hero and showed him the way to escape. But our hero's freedom didn't last long. He was caught by slave hunters. When he came before the deputy minister again, he put the truth about the cheating in Jong-ryeo's exam in front of everyone. Hearing this, the deputy minister went crazy with rage. But his son stepped in and begged to spare our hero's life. But our hero was filled with anger and hate. He challenged them, saying, "Kill me, or else I will ruin your entire family." Jong-ryeo had deep regret, but he couldn't tolerate a slave's threat in front of everyone. And right here, a crack formed in their relationship that was going to change everything later on. Jong-ryeo pulled the red cloth off our hero's hand. After that, he ordered him to be thrown into the dungeon. At that same time, the country's condition started getting worse fast. The Japanese army launched a massive attack. The cowardly king decided to leave the palace and the people and run away to the north. Jong-ryeo was a close official of the king, so he also had to go along to protect the king. After getting information about the important mission, Jong-ryeo told his mother and wife to wait for his father to return from royal duties, and then they'd move to another city together. Before leaving the palace, Jong-ryeo didn't forget one thing. He unlocked our hero's handcuffs. He hoped that in this chaotic time of war, his friend would survive and get true freedom. Unfortunately, they didn't even get a chance to say goodbye because he was still unconscious. That same night, when the news of war spread everywhere, the slaves who had been oppressed for years revolted all at once. They mercilessly killed their masters and burned all documents related to slavery. They declared themselves free. Our hero started regaining consciousness from the heat of the fire and the strong smell of smoke. As soon as he got out of captivity, he saw a scene of destruction all around. The deputy minister's lifeless body was there, hanging from a noose. The king's sword was stabbed into his chest with Jong-ryeo's name written on it. But this was the work of the slaves. Our hero tried to find any survivors, but he only found the blue robe. Just then, he heard a baby crying, and in front of him, Jong-ryeo's wife and his little baby were still alive. But his wife, out of fear, wouldn't let our hero come near her. She saw the bloody weapon in his hand and got even more scared. She hated slaves. Our hero wanted to help her, but she started cursing at him. She said, "You are an animal. Don't touch me with your dirty hands." Saying this, she got trapped in the fire and died there in terrible pain. At that same time, loyal soldiers of the Yi family reached the palace. They saw our hero running away from there. They misunderstood, thinking he was the one who destroyed everything and killed Jong-ryeo's entire family. That soldier immediately set off and delivered this news to Jong-ryeo. This misunderstanding completely broke the 10-year-old friendship. Grief and anger turned Jong-ryeo into a heartless warrior. Our hero reached in front of the royal palace. There, the common people had become completely hopeless. In their anger, they set the palace on fire. They hated that king who had left them to die and run away during the war. Some scholars saw our hero wearing the blue robe. They thought he was some high official, so they pleaded with our hero to lead the people's army and help them fight against the invaders. Our hero quietly accepted this responsibility, but gathering people wasn't easy. Nobody was ready to sacrifice their life for the country. That's why our hero made an announcement that common people who help win the fight will be given government posts and slaves will get freedom. Hearing this, more and more people started joining the army. Our hero goes to the palace storehouse in search of weapons so they can prepare to face the enemy. When the Japanese army reaches near the capital, we are shown a man named Kenshin wearing a mask. He is the commander of the army. To show his power over Joseon, during this, a captured shaman curses Kenshin. She says, "Wait and see, you bastard. Your own sword will be driven through your neck." Kenshin ignores her words and says, "I'll remember that." After that, he does the same to her as she said would happen to him, just to show his cruelty. Meanwhile, on the other side, common people get stuck in a terrible mess because King Sanjo's convoy snatches their food. Now the people's trust in the king breaks. They throw stones in anger and curse the king. The soldiers protecting the king forcibly suppress the protesters. Then the king is put on a boat to cross the river. The common people who plead to go along are brutally killed. After escaping from this incident, King Sanjo orders the valley and nearby houses to be burned so that no one can follow, because he's a huge coward for a king. Anyway, over here, when our hero gathers some soldiers and weapons, he makes a war strategy. He bravely leads the fighters and attacks the enemy army. Although his side only has bows and simple weapons, the Japanese army attacks with guns. But our hero, like a great warrior, jumps from a height and starts mercilessly cutting down the enemy surrounded on all sides. He takes on 10 or 20 by himself. Seeing this, Kenshin gets scared, so he orders to capture our hero alive. He sends cavalry soldiers forward, but our hero cuts them down too. Seeing this, Kenshin gets even more scared. But just then, our hero, crossing every danger, reaches directly to the general. The general asks him for his rank and name. Our hero answers fearlessly, "According to the king, my rank is a dog and my name is a beast." Saying this much, he attacks. During this, Kenshin sees the name engraved on his swords, Jong-ryeo. A powerful, equal fight breaks out between the two. But our hero makes a mistake and the sword slips from his hand. He immediately grabs it again. In that same leap, he also breaks the enemy's helmet, but his body slips from the rock and falls into the river below. Kenshin gets very angry because he never let any enemy survive. Now 7 years pass, the war ends, but only destruction and ruins are left behind. Conditions become so bad that they even have to eat dead bodies to satisfy their hunger. To stay alive, people started leaning on each other, but King Sanjo didn't care about the people's pain. He only wanted to rebuild his palace. Jong-ryeo continued serving the king, and his rank kept getting higher. But his hatred for our hero still hadn't ended. The king once told Jong-ryeo, "Never praise lowborn people too much. As soon as they feel they've become special, they become uncontrollable." Hearing this, Jong-ryeo remembered the past. His wife had already warned him not to get too close to our hero. Back then, Jong-ryeo had protested and said, "When a human can be friends with a dog, why can't he be friends with a slave?" But the story shows that the hero had overheard that conversation between them. He had also heard the words of Jong-ryeo's wife, which were full of hate. That woman tells her husband, "Dogs are for keeping as pets, and slaves are for working." At that time, Jong-ryeo didn't agree with this thought, but now he had regret and anger that he ever trusted a lowborn person like our hero and considered him a friend. Now the story turns back to our hero. He had joined the army that defends the faith. In this army, there were people from every class. High officials, scholars, commoners, and slaves all joined together to form an army that stood up to fight enemies and protect the country. When the war fully ended, they all started preparing to separate from each other. Everyone was preparing to settle back in their own areas. Just then, soldiers out on a walk spotted some Japanese soldiers who were still left and were moving toward their camp disguised as locals. Our hero and his companions immediately made a plan and suddenly attacked them with a larger number of people. Because of this, defeating the enemies wasn't too difficult. During that, the Japanese general Kenshin also showed up. He still recognized our hero. Without delay, he challenged him to a sword duel to show his strength and skill. But this time, our hero himself left a deep wound on his face. While the fight was still going on, the brave female warrior Beom stepped in. She captured the Japanese general with the help of traps and nets. This was all done on the orders of the elder leaders so that they could capture Kenshin alive and make him proof of their group's bravery. Because Kenshin was that warrior called the nose-cutting demon. He used to cut off enemies' noses to spread fear among people. Our hero and his companions also found many valuable things looted by the Japanese soldiers. An elder official wanted all these things returned to the king so that in return, common people could get military ranks and slaves could get freedom. But Beom didn't trust the government and the royal court. She wanted these treasures used in exchange for food to help the poor and hungry people. She also suggested that everyone settle in a new place together and build a new village. When everyone's opinions differed, the group split into two parts. The people who agreed with Beom ideas separated and moved forward to attack the cities where the rulers and traitorous officers were helping Japanese soldiers during the war. All of them were killed like dogs. Meanwhile, our hero decided to go with the old court officials so that the captured Japanese general could be presented before the king. When this convoy passed through the city, people thronged. In anger, the crowd attacked the captured Japanese soldiers. Some people were shouting slogans with joy and praising the bravery of the faith-defending army. At this same time, Jong-ryeo was present in King Sonyo's court. As soon as his eyes fell on our hero, the old hatred flared up again. He started poisoning the king's ears and calling the faith-defending army a threat because the public was praising them so much. He also mentioned that the rulers of some cities have been killed with people from this same army behind it. The king ordered the old court official to come to the court alone. Everyone else was taken away, saying a welcome ceremony was arranged for them. But all that was a trap. Everyone was declared a traitor and sentenced to death on charges of rebellion. The old official was also put to death, and his throat was slit and hung on the road. Our hero and his companions were surrounded, and they were also attacked. But our hero somehow escaped. While running, he saw a heartbreaking sight. The elders and his companions were hung on the gallows without any respect. Jong-ryeo, who had now become a close official of the king, came to see the severed heads of the rebels, but he didn't find his old friend's head. At that very moment, our hero was watching him from afar, with terrible hatred and the fire of revenge in his heart. After this, our hero returns to the place where he grew up and starts his revenge from there. He killed the soldiers stationed at the mansion one by one. A short while later, Jong-ryeo arrived there. He directly accused the king of betrayal and framing the army that protected the land on false charges. Jong-ryeo spoke in anger, "You are like that dog who bites its own master." After that, both took their swords and clashed. Jong-ryeo said that his biggest regret is that he ever considered a slave a friend. Our hero immediately replied, "I never even made friends with you." Just then, our hero got a chance. He stabbed the sword into the middle of Jong-ryeo's hand, exactly like Jong-ryeo had once done to him. Just then, the king's soldiers arrived to save Jong-ryeo, but our hero brutally struck them down. He could have killed Jong-ryeo, but he didn't do it. As he was leaving, he said, "Since you called me a traitor, now I will become exactly like that." Then our hero collected the heads of his killed companions. He tore the red cloth, the sign of friendship, and then returned to his old companions. Everyone together performed the last rites for those friends who were killed by betrayal. Then our hero announced that now he won't tolerate any more oppression. Now he will gather an army and rebel against the king who betrayed both the country and the people. From right here, the earth-shaking rebellion begins. Over in the royal court, people's complaints started increasing. The public was angry because the warriors who sacrificed for the country were being called traitors. Rumors had spread everywhere that a rebellion was about to happen in the whole country. King Sonjo was very angry. Jong-ryeo suggested killing everyone in our hero's group. Jong-ryeo had realized that the king needed a lot of money to rebuild the palace, so he played a new move. He said that instead of killing the Japanese soldiers, they should be released. Those soldiers, along with the royal army, will show the way to the location of the stolen treasure. Also, they will be ordered to completely finish off the rebel army. Many courtiers protested. They said Japanese soldiers should be directly given the death penalty instead of being sent to kill people of their own country. But this king had already made his decision. He still remembered how the people threw stones at him and burned the palace. The king formed a new army. He gathered those Japanese soldiers who had bowed down before him. The king gave Kikawa Kenshin a new name, Kim Cheon-min. Now he had become a soldier of Joseon and was made the general of the army. Along with that, Jong-ryeo was made the leader of a special squad. His job was to go directly and wipe out the rebels. Meanwhile, our hero's army found all that treasure that the Japanese soldiers had hidden. But here too, disagreements started. Most people wanted to split the treasure and everyone go their own way. Only our hero and Beomdong were still standing firm. They wanted this money put into war preparations and the fight against the high class to continue. But the other members didn't agree with this. Other people now wanted to live the lives of rich folks. In this greed, they quietly laid a trap for our hero and Beomdong and tied both of them to a tree. Our hero tried to explain to them. He said, "If bad people come into power, they will hunt us down and kill us. First, they'll talk about saving our lives, and then they'll finish us off." But most people didn't listen to a single word of his. They took all the treasure and left separately. A short while later, exactly as our hero said, it happened. Jong-ryeo's army suddenly attacked them. When Jong-ryeo didn't find our hero's body, he left a message. "I will cut off your head and hang it on the road." A young man who somehow survived came back and freed our hero and Beomdong. Now everyone understood that if they didn't fight and win, they would never get a peaceful life. Jong-ryeo reached the riverbank with the treasure. He was getting all the wealth loaded into boats to send to the palace. From the hill above, Beomdong and that young man were watching everything. They wanted to take revenge. Just then, they saw that Jong-ryeo betrays the Japanese soldiers. Jong-ryeo ordered to kill them so that their sins could be settled. The royal soldiers surrounded them on all sides, but as soon as they fired, the guns exploded in their own hands. Seeing this, the Japanese soldiers started laughing. Kenshin explained that they had blocked the muzzles of the guns beforehand. Once again, a terrible battle between two countries began. Kenshin puts on his special armor. He watches Jong-ryeo's swordsmanship and is reminded of that warrior in the blue clothes, meaning our hero. He says, "Your moves are very similar to his." Then he questions, "Why is your name written on that blue-clothed one's sword?" Jong-ryeo says, "I was the one who gave that sword to him." Kenshin becomes silent hearing this. He wanted to capture Jong-ryeo alive rather than kill him, so he could be used for bargaining with King Sonjo. But Jong-ryeo was ready to die too. He attacked with his sword without stopping and broke the opponent's helmet and armor to humiliate him. At that same moment, our hero also appeared. He bravely entered the battlefield and shouted, "I will kill you both right here." The three most powerful warriors were face to face. A terrible fight began among the three. Jong-ryeo's anger exploded. He shouted that our hero killed his entire family, and now he will also throw him into the fire, just like what happened to his family. Hearing these words, our hero realized that his friend had misunderstood everything. In his shock, our hero made a slip, and the sword went into his hand. Groaning in pain, our hero asked, "Do you still believe up until now that I killed your family? I tried to save your wife, but your wife jumped into the fire herself while holding your son." Jong-ryeo doesn't believe this. Jong-ryeo looked into his friend's eyes. Tears came to his eyes. Seeing tears in his eyes, Jong-ryeo's heart was shaken. He was just thinking something when Kenshin stepped in, while Jong-ryeo went into shock for a few moments after learning all this. Now our hero had to fight Kenshin alone. During the fight, our hero made a mistake, and Kenshin struck him on the back. As soon as Jong-ryeo regained his senses, he immediately ran to save his friend. He gave Kenshin a good fight, but he couldn't withstand his strength. Our hero saw that his friend was falling to the ground. The sword slipped from Jong-ryeo's hand. Then our hero, without caring for his life, pounced on the enemy. In his anger, he chopped off both hands of the Japanese warrior Kenshin. Finally, he killed Kenshin. This was exactly like that prophecy that woman had said. He died by his own sword. Our hero immediately went to the dying Jong-ryeo. He apologized and asked in a painful voice, "Am I still your friend?" Our hero said yes with teary eyes. After this, King Sonjo didn't get any news of Jong-ryeo and the Japanese soldiers. After some time, some mysterious chests reached the palace that came from a ship with the royal flag. The king thought there would be gold or gems inside, but seeing the thing hidden underneath, the king trembled with fear. There were severed noses. This was the rebels' message, a response to royal atrocities. On the other hand, our hero and Beom-dong were building a new world with people who thought like them, a place where there was no high or low. There was no master or slave. They settled a new village. Our hero named it Beom-dong, which meant a land where everyone is equal. Right here, the movie Uprising ends.